So a project I'm working on for my friend. He had this old tricycle, it's been sitting outside for about 10 years, 15, and I'm going to give it a new paint job and a fresh rebuild. Knock some of the rust off the first time around with the sandpaper. I don't have to take the paint off, just have to rough it up so that the new paint will stick. And so I put a layer of primer on there because primer also acts as filler. This is after the first coat of primer. It doesn't look great, but if you run your finger over it, it's nice and smooth, and that's what we're looking for the paint job. I got some tape out here, tape off the bearings so I didn't have to remove them because they're sealed bearings, you can't rebuild them, so got some tape to protect them. This one's going to get sanded down next. You can see kind of like it's rough, there's bumps in there, kind of looks like craters on the moon or something, so we're going to straighten all that out. And over here I got some other parts for it that are all ready to be second coat primer. So like I said, the primer kind of works like filler and it smooths out all the rough edges and bumps. Got those hanging up so they're ready to be primered after they get dry. After I sand the paint down, then I take it over to the garden hose over there and I wipe it all down and wash it and get all the dust off of it. That way the paint adheres really well. So these have already been sanded, primered, sanded, and washed. So they're going to get a coat of paint next, and while that paint's drying, then I can start working on these. Got a bucket of parts inside, and hopefully I can get the primering done today and then lay on some paint probably tomorrow. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on. Alright, a little while later I got these all primered. There's a couple little spots that need sanded down, but I'm going to hit it with some wet sandpaper before the top coat anyway, so those are looking really good. There's some more sanding done on this, and the first layer, or the second layer of primer down. Some fresh tape on them bearings, keep the paint out of them. So this is looking good, but I can see about 3 or 4 spots that need a little bit more sanding to really smooth it out, and then you'll get a third layer of primer and it should be good to go. And for the main frame, I started by hand again, and then I decided that was just too much work, so I got the electric sander out and I used up the first thing of sandpaper, and still got some more to do on that. Okay, well next I got a bucket of water here and some 400 grit wet or dry paper. So I'm just going to wet sand this fork and seat stay. I guess you call it a sissy bar at that point. It holds the back of the seat up. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Just wet the paper, and that'll smooth it out so that instead of like a satin finish, it'll have a nice smooth flat finish and ready for the top coat. So yeah, that's about it. Just after the initial sanding and smoothing and priming, then we're going to go over the whole thing with 400 grit wet, and that'll smooth everything out. I got the housing here. It's going to need some more sanding over here and over here, and that'll be ready for wet sanding. And then I got a fresh sheet of paper on my electric sander because that trike frame over there the main frame is almost finished. Needs some more sanding with the electric and then some more with the hand. So alright, the wet sanding gave a nice smooth shiny surface. So that looks pretty good. Next I gotta wet sand this back end here, and I'll get it all painted up. I already got the other two pieces painted. So get a bucket and some water and some sandpaper and clean that up and go ahead and paint it blue too. Next is going to come the white two-tone. Alright, I got the final white on this one. At least I thought it was the final white, because when I pulled the tape off, some of the paint came with it there, and this arrow didn't quite tape off properly. So I got to fix that. Put that back there. And on the other side here, the paint was coming out of the can all funny. I got these little circles. Can't see that well, but it's all rough right here. So I'm going to have to wet sand that down again so it's smooth, retape it off, and get that done. I did get the rear axle assembly done, and I just painted this. So let that finish drying and I can pull the cat hair off of it. Until then, let that sit so the paint can cure. I'm going to wet sand this and retape the frame for shoot number 2 of the white. So this is the final paint job complete, and put it together. The tires need replaced, the chain needs replaced, the chrome needs all polished. It'll clean up though. I did a couple test pieces there. Had to replace a pin in the axle. Everything rides though except for the tire. The tires are shot, so you can't really ride it. Put some brakes on there. It's got the e-brake lever on there too. Everything else is installed. Got the bolts for the seat, or the basket to go on there. I got a replacement basket. These are the old tires. Yeah, they wouldn't hold air. But the basket will sit on the back with these little tabs, so you can go shopping or whatever. And a finished paint job, kind of shiny. All the rinsing with water and wiping with a rag cleans the surface so that you get good adhesion with the paint. You can't use soap because that'll leave a residue behind. Got little patterns there, and then on the bottom. I don't know why it's on the bottom, but that's where it ended up. But everything else is rebuilt. 3 tires, and it's ready to ride.